Hi, everybody. Angel here. Thanks for joining, either live or on the replay. And I'm really happy that today we'll be speaking with Katie, and it should be a very interesting, exciting conversation. So, thanks for joining. Hi
Hello.
there. How are you?
Hi. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Fine, thanks. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk to you. I was very scared and nervous, but now you're making me feel good.
Don't
You have a
be,
great
don't
smile.
be, don't be nervous.
No
So,
need.
no need, no need. Exactly, exactly. So, I did pin our topics down below just to kind of follow along. And again, I want to thank you for taking the time. As people come in and out, I'll just pause and say hi, and then we can keep going and answer questions as they come in.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Perfect.
So, I think we should just get right to it because we have a lot of topics to cover. And so, the first question, Katie, for you is if you could share with us, please, your vegan journey, how you started, and how you ended up to where you are today.
So the first day I was just like rubbing my friend's dog, and then I realized I was like, whoa, like we eat animals. And I was like, whoa. I was like, I'm not eating animals anymore. So I decided to go vegetarian. Well, the next day I did cheat. I had a bit of chicken, but that was just, I didn't really understand the whole everything. Um, but then, like, as time went on, I started like learning more about it, and I started like, then I learned about the dairy industry, and I was like, whoa, I can't do that either. So then I gave up like milk and cheese. I struggled to give up the sweet things, but I did eventually. Yeah, oh yeah, it's tough. It's so tough. Especially like living in the house where the presses are just full of all these delicious things. Oh, it's crazy, crazy. But yeah, that's basically, then I'm vegan now, 100%.
Right,
No.
right. Yeah, and I can relate because I started off, well, I wanted to be vegetarian when I was in college in my late teens, but my family was like, no, you can't do that. So I was vegetarian when I was in college, and then when I went back, I would just eat whatever just to kind of, keep the peace, I guess.
Yeah,
And and then a few years later, for health reasons, I excluded what we call meat. So I was a pescatarian because I thought, oh my gosh, I still need seafood. I still need dairy for calcium and protein and blah, blah, blah.
all
And
that adds
then,
to.
yeah, all of that, marketing stuff. And then as the years went on, I was like, no, 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 no. So I slowly like eliminated, different what we call food, but we know they're animals. And so I can
Mm.
relate to how kind of, I guess, you just were learning as you were going along.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. And so
And
tell us, go ahead.
no, I was just saying, our culture, it's so driven, people can't even think of making a meal without these things, you know?
Totally. And I'm
Oh,
glad you brought that up because there are lots of cultural um roots for different people, different parts of the world. People are so used to eating foods for thousands of years.
yeah,
It's really hard when you want to break away from that too, because then your family or your friends are like, well, what do you mean? You were eating this stuff all along, what do
yeah,
you mean you're not, what do you mean you're not going to eat such and such?
yeah, yeah. I really
So I
think.
think that brings us, yes, to our next topic, which is your challenges so far. Like if you could share some of the challenges you've experienced since ditching the standard diet and switching to a vegan diet.
I think the challenge is really like knowing what's going on in the world, and like people like seeing everybody eating these dead animals, and they don't even, then you try to explain something, or like say anything at all to try and help them think for themselves, but they just get so angry. But I think they're getting angry at themselves, but they think they're angry at you because you shouldn't be, they don't want to think about these things. So, like, yeah. I think that's definitely a struggle, like knowing what's going on, because like it's always in the back of your head. Like you don't have to be watching a video, because like we all know what's going on, but then we're constantly reminded when people like are cooking chicken in front of us and things, and yeah, I think that's the challenge for me. How about you?
I actually had a really difficult situation a few days ago. So here in the USA, we had this public holiday called Thanksgiving a couple of days ago. And
Mm-hmm.
the day before Thanksgiving, I was with someone who is not vegan, and I am her client. So I feel like I am in a weird situation. And she was saying to me that because of the global pandemic, there's a higher demand for smaller turkeys. And she even said something like, the 10 to 12 pound size turkeys. And, they're very scarce. They're hard to find. And in my mind, I'm thinking, but why are we even talking about turkeys? Like, why are people still eating turkeys? However, I was so stunned. I was so shocked and just taken by surprise, quite frankly. But also, I was like biting my tongue. And I was like, no, I can't say anything because if I say something, then we might have a really bad relationship. And, I'm her client. And
Yeah. Oh,
I just don't know what to do at this point. And so I just kind of zipped it. I just said, oh, I see. And then I just kind of, and I didn't even have like the thought to say, well, there are vegan options out there. Like, people don't have to eat animals. But honestly, I was just like stunned, like they say, I was like a deer in the headlights. I didn't know what to say to her. And I was really trying to keep the peace. And afterwards, I felt so terrible that I didn't have you know, the fortitude to say something to her like, well, not necessarily being confrontational, but just saying, well, there are lots of vegan options out there for Thanksgiving too. But
yeah.
now that I was kind of taken off guard by it, I feel like I'm more prepared next time. So
Brilliant. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel I feel like it was a big lesson for me, and I really want to be ready, and I think I'm ready the next time this kind of topic comes up, to be honest with you, because I was blown away by the fact that she was, because see, what's happening is because of the pandemic, a lot of people are basically eating either alone or in smaller groups. And so they're not eating in like huge groups where they would purchase humongous turkeys that of course have been force fed and bred to feed humans. And
Mm-hmm.
so the bigger turkeys in the past would have been, I guess, more in demand, quote unquote. And so now this year, she was saying, I had no idea. This is what she was telling me, that, people are, looking for smaller turkeys. So I feel like I have more tools in my toolkit now to kind of handle similar situations like that. But it was hard. It was hard to hear.
Yeah, oh, it's tough. It's tough. I was actually thinking, like, I didn't have the courage to do it, but I think it would be really cool to just like go up to strangers and like, ask them questions. Because you don't know, like, you're never going to see them again, but you might
No,
have impact on one person. Just
yeah,
one little question to help them think. Like, or
yeah,
even, yeah, it's tough, but we got to keep trying,
yeah. And I
I
and I like
think.
I like how you picked up on the fact that I was so worried that my relationship with this person would be like damaged, and would be uncomfortable. And, so I guess, I was very selfish in that moment too, because I was trying to like preserve this facade of a, client relationship with this person. But at the same time, and mind you, this client relationship has nothing to do with veganism at all. And she has a business and I'm her client. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I can see how I was selfish in that sense of trying to like, keep the peace and not create a problem between us. But I feel like I'm going to be really more prepared because she knows I'm vegan. And I've
Oh,
talked to her. I've talked to her about, for example, oh, there's such and such a vegan restaurant in such and such a place. And she's actually eaten at vegan restaurants.
woohoo! That's
Yeah.
great. Right.
Yeah, so I just feel like I was just not prepared.
Yeah, but it happens. It happens. And definitely I do think that relationships can be impacted because, it's their beliefs, their lifelong beliefs. Especially when you're a client, I understand where you're coming from. But like even my family, I've like said a few things to them, but yeah. Like I asked, my sister was cooking a chicken today, and I was like, I just asked her, like, do you know what kind of life that chicken lived? But instantly she got so angry, it was all, instead of actually just, I don't know, thinking. But yeah, like, they're not trying to be bad people. They just think that this is the way of life, that it's normal. And yeah,
Yeah, and I'm
yes.
glad you brought up that compassion piece, and we'll get into that I think later. But before we get to that, let me ask you a question about your page, Katie Co-Friendly. So, why did you want to create your page? Why did you create your page?
I think it was kind of like, well, like over the lockdown, like I had lots of conversations with my family, and like I was just bottling everything up because they didn't want me to say anything, and they were constantly eating dead animals and all these things. So like I just needed to put my energy somewhere valuable, I feel, because instead of just bottling it all up, or and the community is amazing as well, so we can connect with different vegans, and that's so important to know that you're not alone. It's so important for us. It's really nice. And even like,
Totally.
and lots of people like are looking to go vegan as well, I feel. So it's nice to have like accounts that they can like find recipes and things. I think I should put up more recipes for for those people.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, and it's very inspiring and motivating. And like you say, we're in difficult times, especially this year. And a
Mm.
lot of people are social distancing, isolating, living alone. They can't see people they usually see. And I personally have gotten way more plugged into social media this year than I was last year.
Yeah, like I had literally, like I was completely finished with social media, but I just came back on because I felt like I need to use it because you can reach so many people. So I felt, I'm just gonna take advantage of this thing and, spread the word
Yeah, and I,
because
and I applaud you for that, truly, because I know you have a personal page, and then I just recently discovered you had your Katie Co-Friendly page, and so I applaud you because I know you're doing the work on both pages. So again, I applaud you for that.
thank you very much. Because like the people on my personal account, like they're not vegan, so it's completely different, And those people, oh God, it's funny, it's funny. Well, it's scary, but people can easily unfollow me off that, whereas my family can't tell me to shut up as easily. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I
So
and I think they want to preserve the relationship with you. But of course,
definitely,
it makes them uncomfortable because you're like a mirror, you're like a mirror in front of their faces, and you're saying, you know what, look at this, look at what you're
yeah,
doing.
yeah, they do not want to look at it. Yeah, yeah.
So
It's
tell me a bit, please, about your interest in natural rights, air, water. You mentioned that in your profile. So what do you mean by that? And I guess what are you doing in those areas?
Like I just feel like the way the world is right now, like humans kind of, just take everything for granted. Like, they think, oh, we rule the world, we're the most intelligent species, everything is here for us. And they just like, I know that it's really hard not to, but like, well, some things are easy not to do. But like people just take advantage of like the trees, and like these trees here, they were being cut down and just burned for no reason. They were calling them waste. And I was like, it's not waste, it was not waste. So I managed to save it after lots of lots of trying, but it's gorgeous. It's like an air freshener for the house. I could like they were burning it, and my whole family just think that I'm. They were like, it's waste. They were like, why did you? But yeah, that's just one thing, and like, people. like, you know, human rights are a huge issue and they need to be solved, but I just feel like, you know, there's so much else in the world, like different animals and plants, but I just feel like the whole world should be decolonized, you know, and because nature wants to feed us all for free. Nature is, we are nature, and it's just so forgotten about. And yeah, but
And again, I applaud you for that. And you know, with this global lockdown, we've seen areas where nature has rebounded and has, you know, grown again. You know, dolphins are flourishing, whales are flourishing, penguins are walking down the street. You know, what we call cattle or livestock, you know, sheep and
yeah,
cows are like running around free because humans aren't taking up all that space in the streets, you know,
yeah,
especially in the springtime. Well, springtime in the northern hemisphere, like March, April, May, you know, when there was like a more you know, strict lockdown. And it was just awesome, you know, to see that the animals, that nature was replenishing itself. The air was cleaner, the water was cleaner. You know, we weren't like polluting the oceans, rivers, and seas as much as we usually do.
mm,
um you know, and you know, the air, as I say, the air was cleaner. You know, fewer animals were, you know, I guess being even hunted, for example, in terms of, you know, folks who go out there and like hunt animals in the wild, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel like this lockdown has been a big lesson for us to really observe, like you're saying, you know, what you call it, natural rights. I feel like this lockdown has been a huge opportunity and a huge you know, example of how if humans don't interfere, nature can take care of herself, as we call her.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing, amazing to see how much. Because even like in the city that I'm in college at the moment, you know, there's loads of swans and everything in the lake now. It's stunning.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, yeah. And so let's put our next question, which is, you mentioned in your bio also that you know, you want to be as respectful as possible. Um, can you, you know, tell us a bit more about that particular goal that you have?
Like just in terms of like, you know, the things that I'm consuming and like, you know, I'd love to just be 100% sustainable and like working in harmony with nature. But at the moment it's quite tough because the way the world is and you know, you can't just wake up in the morning and have loads of vegetables growing in the garden. It takes time and work. So like I stopped buying things that, you know, I know are unethical, things that I don't need. But then when it comes to essential things, like, you know, I try to do my best, you know, all the time. But it's very tough, I know, in this world to be like harmless to nature. But we can just try our best. That's all I think.
Totally. And you know, the philosophy or the definition of veganism, as far as I've read and understand and research, is that we do our best to, you know, minimize harm towards our, you know, our animals, our planet, and by extension our own health as well. And
Yeah.
so, but again, it's not 100% possible. You know, we stay in a hotel. We have, you know, soap and lotions or whatever it is, and you know, as toiletries, for example, in a hotel. They could have been tested on animals. They could even
Yeah.
include animals as a so-called ingredient.
Mm,
You know, we could be again, you know, in someone's car, and you know, the seats are covered in animal skin. So you know, it's not 100% possible, but I mean,
yeah.
I think that just being aware of it and, you know, making decisions as much as we can.
Exactly.
um yeah, I mean, I don't think that, you know, as vegans, we are held to, you know, the gold standard of do no harm. I think that that is just, you know, it's like you said, in our society, it's just not doable.
Yeah, it's too tough. too tough. But I think things are going in the right direction, and eventually the world will be good again.
Yes, yeah, I'm optimistic like you. I am. So tell us a bit, please, about what it's like for you as a young vegan in terms of, I guess, being around your peers, being around other young people. What's it like for you as a young vegan?
Um, I don't really know. I kind of at this stage, I just I don't know. Like my friends are kind, and like I think I kind of try to, help them think about things as well. And they've actually cut down a lot, which is fantastic. And like my roommates, I'm cooking for them, and they love the food and stuff. So it's great. It's great. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't know. How about you?
Well, I'm not young, so I can't say.
You are all.
I'm not young, but with my peers, people in my inner circle, the approach I took, when I follow Live Kindly, and they publish a lot of articles on, like, let's say when fast food restaurants come out with a vegan option, or I don't know, some company comes out with a vegan option. So the approach I took, people in my inner circle, was to send them, I would forward them the article saying, oh yeah, for example, Dunkin' Donuts is going to come out with a vegan option, and whatever, some other, fast food place, because some of them are really into fast food. So I thought it was a way to kind of meet them where they are, as people say, and
Mm,
just kind of plug into what kind of lights them up, what they're into.
mhm,
And a lot of people are really into like fast food, convenience, et cetera, et cetera.
mhm.
Or like, they'll talk to me about like, vegan burgers. And I would, give them a whole list of options, that they could buy in the supermarket. And that's really been more successful because now, they're eating plants like 6 days a week. I have another person I know who, when I told her, how much I was into veganism, and she's like, wow, yeah, tell me more, that sounds awesome. And she herself has said that she has like really reduced her um, intake. Um, you
Oh, that's
know,
brilliant.
yeah, yeah. And the way she explained it to me, it's from a health angle, which I can understand because I started for health reasons too. And it was just along my journey that I
Great.
learned.
Okay. Sorry. My brother was knocking on the door. Sorry about that.
No worries. And so, for me, I try to meet people where they are.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
very important because like, even cooking, it does take time, and but I think it's nice to learn how to cook because I used to be very picky, and but now I eat all sorts of everything.
Yeah,
'Cause
and
yeah.
that's the thing too. Yeah, because again, people I know really well, I said to them, well, gosh, I asked them, are you finding that you're eating like more varieties of plants now than before? And they said, oh yes, they didn't even realize that there were so many options of plant foods, and that they, just had so much variety, and they're like experimenting with all of these recipes that
Mm,
they would never even think. Like, I'll give you an example. Over here on this side of the world, I don't know about your side of the world, but like vegan hot dogs made of carrots are kind of popular.
oh,
Uh-huh.
no.
And so there's a very famous vegan woman, an influencer, who, had this recipe for vegan hot dogs, which are made of carrots. And so long story short is like, people I know, they tried it and they were like, oh my gosh, it was so good. And so
That's brilliant.
it's one way to like keep animals off of people's plates.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I just want to say hi to whoever's joining. And if you have questions for Katie or comments, please put them down in the comment section below and she'll be happy to answer. And so, meanwhile, while we wait for questions, so Katie, tell us, a bit more. I know we kind of touched on it earlier, but tell us a bit more about, how you handle naysayers, critics, skeptics, people who criticize, our vegan diet and lifestyle. If you've had those kinds of experiences, if there's anything you wanted to share.
Hmm. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I've had any like specific critics. I don't know. I don't really. Have you had any critics, any situations that might spark a memory?
I recently was at a vegan restaurant and I was eating outside and I was just finishing my meal and a guy, a guy, a guy walked up and said something like, oh, is that vegetarian place? And I
Oh,
said, and
why?
I said, vegan. And he said, oh no. And he asked me, well, is the food good? And I was like, oh yeah, it's pretty good. And he's like, oh, I think I'll just go get a burger. I was like, well, they have burgers here. And he's like, real ones? And I was like, well, they're vegan. He's like, oh no, I think I'll just go get a burger. And I said, no, 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 but you might like it. Try it. You might like it.
Yeah.
And he was not having it, even though he proceeded to tell me how great this restaurant was, how great their outdoor seating was, and how well they were doing in this whole pandemic situation. And I was like, yeah, they have really great, options inside too, and blah, 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 blah. And I was really like hyping the place up, right? And he's like, I think I'll just go get a burger. I was like, okay then. And no, he said, I think I'll just go get a burger. He said, and have a nice day. And I said, well, same to you. Thank you. And I was like, oh no, like I couldn't break his view, his skepticism to even try a vegan burger. Like that
Yeah.
was like, to me, I was like, I just failed at it.
Not at all. Not at all. It's not your fault. It's hundreds of years of implantation. Yeah,
It's
because when you think about
crazy.
it, like people are so focused on like meat and dairy that they even forget to eat plants. They forget about plants, and that's we need them to like like for nutrition. And then they're like, "Where'd you get your protein?" But where did they get their vitamin A, B, D, E, and K? You know?
Okay, okay, Katie, that is the best I have heard all day. Katie, I have to give you kudos. You need an award for that, Katie. I kid you not, because one of the things that's been bothering me, quite frankly, is not only in the standard diet, to be honest with you, but also on the vegan diet, is that there's a lack of color on the plate.
Yeah.
And and so a lot of plates are brown and beige. And my
Mm.
my point is, well, goodness, like you're saying, well, where are they getting all of the variety from? Where are the reds, the oranges, the yellows, the greens, the purples, the blues? Where are those colors?
Fuel the chakras.
Hey! Okay,
Yeah, you
okay,
know.
okay. You win the prize. You win the prize because I love chakras. Okay, I love chakras, and I know you're a bit of a.
Amazing.
I think you're a bit of a purple person. Are you?
Really? I love purple. Wearing purple, a purple bed. Yeah, no, definitely mad for purple.
Yes, yes. So definitely, I can see that you're into the chakras. I love the chakras too, and
Yeah, you
so
talk more.
I give you first prize for bringing up the whole thing, honestly, about, well, where on earth are they getting all their other vitamins,
Yeah,
minerals, and
seriously.
antioxidants?
Yeah. Fruit and veg are so important, and nuts and all these things. They're just once they're getting their potatoes and rice and chicken, you know? I don't understand it. Well, I do understand actually. I just feel like the advertising is very intense. Very intense. Like, can you remember, like, they used to be telling us to get, like, 5 fruit and veg a day, but now you don't hear that anymore. They're like, make sure you get your milk for calcium, you know?
And your animals for protein, and your fish for omegas, and
Whoa, and
it's
eggs.
Yeah, yeah. And eggs for protein, even though there's a whole cholesterol scare, so people kind of switched on that too. They're like, well,
Yeah.
we don't really worry too much about cholesterol anymore. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening here?
Yeah, oh, it's so intense. And like, do you know that there's like, say the recommended daily intake of cholesterol is like 300 milligrams, like max. But there's over 300 milligrams of cholesterol in one egg. And some
But
people are
they're
having
still
like two
eating
a day.
them. I know, and they're still
Yeah,
eating. They're still eating them though.
it's mental. And like when you think about it, like in the wild, like how many eggs would you find a day? So we're obviously not meant to eat them every day, at least. And
And
like milk, what animal would just stand there and let you milk it? Like we have to trap them in order to get their milk, you know? You need to they have to be captured and locked up.
and
Would
I'm
be
so,
would be
Yeah, and I applaud you for bringing that up because, for example, the way that I started to wean myself off of eggs, because there was this whole myth that I needed eggs for protein, for example. The way I started to wean myself off of it years ago was when I understood that what we call eggs are potential chickens. And once I found that out, I said, "Oh no, 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 no! I can't eat potential chickens. I mean, why am that if we leave if we leave those eggs alone, they will be fertilized and they will be born into chickens." So I was like, "No, no, 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 no! I can't do that." And so, the same thing with the whole milk thing. And well, I'm lactose intolerant, which I was just
oh
ignoring for many years. And so then I just had to say, no, forget it. I need to like ditch dairy, right? And so, but, and then with all of the plant options that have been coming on board, besides making my own milk, which I've only recently learned how to do.
that's brilliant though.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, 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 but I only started to do that like last year. I wasn't even making my own milk. And so I was like buying, plant milk, right? And so my point is like, I really applaud you for bringing that up because people I think it's just, a lack of information. I really do.
definitely, yeah, definitely. Definitely. And like very extreme
Yeah.
information as well. Like kind of
Yeah. Yeah. So, Katie, tell us a bit, please, about what are a few, suggestions you would make to someone who is a new vegan curious, vegan friendly. If they say, "Oh, I really don't know where to start this whole vegan thing, this whole vegan journey thing." What would you say to them?
I'd say like make loads of stir fries and curries and start trying chickpeas and like have peanut butter. I don't know, and like if they slip up, if they eat something, like not to like be like, oh, I can't be vegan now, I'm after eating something. Just to start again, to just not beat themselves up about it because it's tough. Our culture is so extreme and you're changing your whole diet. It is because the way the world is now is just so intensely like animals and their excretions. Yeah. So I'd just say not to be too hard on yourself and kind of maybe ease yourself into it if you can't just go cold straight away.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love that you're taking like a compassionate view because, we were there before too. We were
Yeah.
consuming the standard diet, or, even in my case, even though, I ditched the so-called standard diet years ago, but then I was still a pescatarian, vegetarian, still eating animals, just not eating what we call meat or red meat or white meat or whatever. But I'm really, very aware of this whole need to be compassionate, like you're saying, and not only to forgive others, but even to forgive ourselves, and I think it starts with ourselves because if we're really tough on ourselves, if we don't have that, self-forgiveness and self-compassion, it's going to be so much harder to, extend that to other people.
That's true. Yeah, very true. Very true. Compassion is very important. Very important. And I think
Oh,
that's one thing with like lots of, vegan activists and stuff. We kind of forget that other people like, think about how they're feeling and actually their whole life is, everything's hidden from them and then so they don't want to know the truth because they love the taste of these things, and yeah. I just think compassion is a huge thing.
Totally, totally. And what's been coming into my sphere recently is this whole idea of the ego as well, and how a lot of people hold on to the
Oh yeah.
standard diet and lifestyle because of their egos. They're very attached to eating certain foods or wearing certain clothing or certain furniture or certain skin products, et cetera, et cetera, that, include animals. And so they're very, very attached to it. And this notion of the ego has really been, like, again, coming into my aura recently, just talking and listening to other people. So there's a lot to kind of break through and kind of cut out, because it's we by nature have very strong egos.
Definitely, yeah. Definitely. And that puts humans above everything else, like with the in nature.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's that whole thing about, speciesism, that our species is superior to all other species, and, that our superior intelligence means that we can do whatever we want with other species, and without realizing, that they're sentient beings, they have emotions, feelings, relationships, etc. So, yeah, it's hard.
It is tough. It's tough knowing what's going on in the world when so many people don't know or understand. And then you're trying to get through to certain people, but they just, yeah, it is tough. I know what you mean.
It is.
But
It
we're,
is.
it's great that
Sorry.
we're able to connect with each other here and have such an amazing community. And I'm sure there's loads of people with us around the world.
Totally. And I think that's what makes the struggle a little bit easier, to know that, there are others who are, as we say, fighting the, we're still all together. We have a question here from Nick Vaz. Hi there. He says, how do I know if the clothes I wear are vegan friendly? Well, Nick,
Uh,
let's put it this way. The way I look at it, right? First of all, I look at labels. So if the clothing includes leather, even if it's a leather trim, there will be leather will be mentioned on the label. Wool also will be mentioned. Silk will be mentioned. Those are just like three examples of clothing, as to whether they're vegan friendly. So I would say, just do some reading, do some research. But those three are the three that come to mind, in terms of clothing, because I have become so, detail oriented in reading labels, for clothing. I even recently discovered that, beeswax is used to, um, basically, what do I want to say? Like, for the finishing of certain wooden bowls. And I was like, no, 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 I don't want beeswax. I'm vegan. And so I chose the ones that had walnut oil, because that comes from a plant, and not beeswax, which comes from bees. And so, and just, obviously, like, candles that are made from beeswax, we would not choose those. We would choose maybe the soy candles or something like that. So, it's a continuous, I feel, a continuous journey of learning. But I
Jeff.
personally have to be very vigilant. The other day I was looking at some, you're into the chakras, Katie, so you would know what I mean about, like, the mala beads with all, that people use, let's say for meditation, or for beauty, whatever the case might be. And I discovered that there were different options of the mala beads, and some of them had silk on the tassels. And I was like, no, 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 I don't want that. I'm vegan. So then I
Hmm.
ended up just getting the synthetic tassel, which is probably not, great, because it probably has like lots of, polyester, which is like petroleum and blah, blah, blah. So, but I did, make the decision to go with the synthetic one versus the one with silk, which comes from an animal. And Nick is saying, gripes, my lip balm has beeswax. Yes, Nick. And I would add to that also, like I've, again, I've been reading labels quite a lot. And just like, dental floss, like to floss our teeth, some of them have beeswax in it.
Ooh, they hide things into every sort of, all sorts of things. I For the clothes, I just buy everything second hand now. Like just everything. I just completely stopped buying things new, and because you find all sorts of everything. Maybe underwear might get that, but you can find cotton. Cotton is good.
Totally. And I've really been trying to get organic cotton when I can. It's not always possible.
Yeah,
But the reason I try to get organic cotton is because you don't have all the pesticides and herbicides and junk on it. And so, but
yeah.
again, it's not always possible. So I do have clothing that is not organic cotton, but it's cotton. And I figure, well, at least there's no like, animals, directly involved in this.
Yeah,
So
it's not too bad. But like, yeah, obviously plants should be respected too, and wherever they're being farmed was obviously a forest before or whatever it was. But even thistles, have you ever seen thistles? And it's literally like cotton. The seeds are like cotton, really
oh,
soft.
oh wow.
Yeah,
I did
you
not
can
know
even
that.
eat them. They're
Sorry?
really, really nice. You can eat thistles and everything.
Yes,
They're really.
I haven't personally. Well, you know what? Maybe I had them like in tea. Do you make tea out of thistle sometimes?
I've never tried it, but
I
I
have
don't
a
know.
feeling I might have had thistles in tea, but I'll have to double check. So we have another comment from
Hmm,
Nick saying, "My dentist won't be happy if I stop flossing." Yes, organic cotton is best.
nice. Yeah,
Well,
organic.
Nick, yeah,
To
go
go.
ahead, Katie.
I'm just gonna plug in my phone.
Oh, okay. So while Katie does that, yeah, I mean, there are vegan options of dental floss. We just have to search a little bit harder to find them.
Hmm.
But I did come across because I read the label of some dental floss the other day, and beeswax was one of the ingredients. I was like, no, 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 I'm not buying that. So yeah. All
That's
right. So
good. That's good.
I think Katie's back. So, Katie, tell
Uh,
us a bit, please, about some of your. Well, first of all, I want to applaud you for your, visual arts and, some of what you do there. Why don't you tell us a bit about what inspires you in your visual arts that you share on your pages?
um, I see. I was working on this project. Like performances. I think like street performances and activism is very, very effective. So I just decided I would like to like create this character of like a cow and just like stand on the street and like you could sing or you could talk to people or like jump up on people who are eating a burger and then they would realize, whoa, I'm eating a cow. Different things. I think like have you seen like the save movement and stuff?
Yeah.
I think they're amazing. I think it would be really cool to just like stand out and even like a group of girls wearing cow masks. I think it would just be very effective. To help people think about like how the bodies are used and yeah.
Yeah, and I actually saw something similar. I think it was in a supermarket recently, and some vegan activists, went in there, and they were in like the meat department, as it's called, and
Yeah.
they were basically protesting, obviously the consumption of animals, and so I think it's a really good idea. And you're so creative and so talented in terms of like, creating the visual. And also, I was really blown away by, I'm gonna call it your moo performance. I don't know what it's really called, But I just thought it was very powerful.
Thank you very much. It was, it kind of just came to me. I feel like these things, because we're so like connected with nature, I feel like, if you leave nature work through you, she can, like, these, you're a bit frozen. I hope it's not.
Yeah, you're coming in and out. Yeah, I think your signal is dipping in and out. Ah, I think we lost Katie there. Yeah. Well, maybe she'll come back. So I just want to thank everyone who has joined either live or on the replay. And I will save the live to IGTV and my feed and stories, so you can catch whatever you missed. And I think we have lost Katie's connection. I will wait another minute or so to see if she can join again. For those who want to find Katie, you can message her on her page at Katie Co-Friendly. I guess she lost her connection. So I'm sorry about that. And I think I'll just wrap this up. And again, thanks guys for joining, everybody. And I wish you a beautiful day, and take good care, everybody. Bye bye. Thank you. Bye bye. And thanks to Katie as well. Thank you so much, Katie. Bye bye.